Welcome to the Deep Dive, the place where we take the complexity of specialized source material and turn it into knowledge that sticks.
Today we're diving into the extraordinary journey of Miki Sawaguchi. She was born in Yokohama on September 1st, 1975.
And if you spent any time at all looking at the Japanese adult video industry or AV industry, you probably know this name.
Oh, absolutely. She's often cited as one of Japan's most recognizable and longest-running AV performers.
Okay, so let's unpack this. The sources we have give us this almost unbelievable timeline. It really shows how someone starting in an AV, a career that's, marginalized almost everywhere else,
Can become this huge multimedia celebrity, pivot to television, record experimental music, and somehow still maintain relevance for, well, over a decade.
So our mission today is to trace that full and often very contradictory arc.
Yeah, it's not just a timeline. It's more like a blueprint for a unique kind of media entrepreneurship. She stood at 1.61 meters, so just about 5'3".
But she was a massive cultural presence. Spanning television, radio, AV.
And even releasing 2 major CDs. We're going to try and figure out how she managed to thrive in so many different worlds, really, at the same time.
Let's start at the beginning then, because her path wasn't, immediately set for stardom. She had a very, very typical working life before the cameras.
That's right. Before her 1996 debut, the sources show she held down some pretty common jobs. She worked at a coffee shop, a clothing store.
And even a private tutoring center. A totally unassuming background.
But the motivation for her big career shift wasn't what you'd expect. It wasn't about money, apparently. It was more about visibility.
Right. She famously claimed that she always loved to be photographed, and that love of the lens is what propelled her into the adult film business.
And that desire, it just so happened to coincide perfectly with the absolute height of the AV idol phenomenon in Japan.
And we should probably underline for you, the listener, what that means. In Japan, the adult industry can be a legitimate, albeit very distinct, track to celebrity.
Exactly. Performers are often promoted just like pop idols, and Miki Sawaguchi just leveraged this structure brilliantly. She quickly became one of the most popular Japanese big bust stars of the 1990s, not just in Japan, but globally.
And her debut title, well, it really establishes that brand immediately. She debuted in January 1996 with Crystallizer Studio.
And the video was titled, "I Have Found Breasts Larger Than My Face."
Which in Japanese is Kaori Dekai no Maike. Talk about setting expectations early.
It's incredibly specific marketing. But what's maybe more revealing is the candidness the sources talk about from the very beginning.
Yeah, that debut video reportedly had 3 sex scenes that were inspired by her actual real-life experiences.
And there's this one anecdote about her first sexual encounter that's surprisingly vulnerable. She revealed she was incredibly shy and needed a lot of guidance from her partner, who was much older.
That level of personal disclosure right out of the gate, that's so critical. It turned her into more than just a performer. She became a personality, someone who shared her life with the audience.
Absolutely. And that early authenticity, it paid off fast. Just 2 months later, her third video, Dynamite Breast Girl Uru Tora no Chichi, that was March 1996.
It was already a collector's item.
Yeah, with her on the cover in that now iconic small blue bikini, she just solidified her brand at lightning speed.
And that incredibly rapid rise created this immediate conflict, which brings us to, I think, the most interesting part. The crossroads. The attempt to pull her into the mainstream.
This is where her story gets really, really complex. After only a few videos in 1996, this giant Osaka-based talent agency, Yoshimoto Kogyo, convinced her to retire from AV.
To become a pure media personality.
Right.
And for anyone listening who might not be familiar with the Japanese entertainment structure, Yoshimoto Kogyo is a powerhouse, an absolute behemoth.
Oh yeah, they manage hundreds of comedians, TV personalities.
Yeah.
They wield immense control over what is considered mainstream.
So for them to poach an AV star, that was a huge calculated risk. They were trying to sanitize her image.
And for a little while it worked. For about a year or two, from 97 to 98, she was a mainstream star.
She was a bikini model in weekly magazines, a regular on shows like Young on TV Tokyo, and the famous late-night program Gilgamesh Night.
She even got her own radio program, 130R monthly, on Bunka Broadcasting in 1998, and was a guest on huge talk shows like Downtown DX.
That's the peak, the absolute peak of mainstream integration. But then the sources show she decided to pull the plug on this whole experiment herself.
In October 1997, She returns to the AV industry with a video called Come Back to Ultra Breasts.
And the context she gives for that decision is, I think, the most explosive part of this entire deep dive.
It truly is. The key insight is this powerful, unscripted opening speech she gives in that comeback video. She delivers this shocking critique of the very same mainstream establishment that had just tried to embrace her.
It's jarring to read. Here she is, a successful crossover star, and she describes the Japanese media and entertainment world, the world of Yoshimoto Kogyo, as a dark and dirty world that unheartedly destroys people's careers.
It's a fundamental rejection of that perceived glamour, of the stability of the establishment.
It completely flips the script. She was basically saying the mainstream, which operates on intense talent agency control and image management, that was where she felt unsafe, restricted.
And in sharp contrast, she described the porn industry, the place society typically views as exploitative, as a place where she felt, and this is her quote, right at home.
That really speaks to the unique power dynamics at play in Japan. I mean, maybe the AV industry, because it's outside the mainstream, offered her more creative control.
Or at least a stronger sense of community, of acceptance, than the rigid, controlled world of the big talent agencies.
And you see that shift toward autonomy in her work after she returns.
Absolutely. Her performance style changes. She becomes much more articulate, more engaged in her own productions. The sources really emphasize that she starts speaking directly to her audience, sharing her personal life, her views on intimacy.
There's a great example in her video, White Princess, where she discusses developing specific sexual techniques to, satisfy her on-screen partners.
Yeah, she shifts from being this passive object of desire to an active, self-aware mentor almost, commenting on the whole process.
Yeah.
That rejection of the mainstream didn't slow her down at all.
If anything, it made her more interesting. And that leads directly to her biggest cultural and, global reach yet.
Which brings us to the multimedia empire she built. Her fame went way beyond Japan, attracting some serious international attention.
Yeah, the summer 1999 issue of the U.S. magazine Oriental Cinema gave her significant coverage. They featured her video Dynamite Breast Girl, 101-centimeter J-cup.
And not just with a review. They put her pictures on the front, back, and inside covers.
And the review was glowing, just absolutely glowing. It called the video the best X-rated Japanese video I've ever seen.
That really cemented her status internationally. She was a global phenomenon, recognized for her particular brand of artistry within that industry.
But I think the most fascinating pivot has to be her music career right around the turn of the millennium. This was not a typical pop idol thing.
No, not at all. This was a serious avant-garde move, a massive anomaly.
She released her own album, titled Big Boobs, in February 2002.
And it was released on Alchemy Records, which is, a label known for experimental noise and punk artists. The contrast between that title and that label is just striking.
It's an incredible statement about her controlling her own image. The last song on the album was called Watashi no Mino de Onamir Nasai, which translates to Sleep with Your Head in My Chest.
She took this potentially commercialized part of her fame and ran it through this filter of self-aware experimental music. It's brilliant.
And she didn't just record it. The sources confirm she contributed vocals to a second Alchemy release, Uterus and Human, and she performed live.
With her guitar noise band at New York's famous Knitting Factory on November 18, 2000. That is not a gimmick.
No, that's crossing over into a serious international art scene. From adult film sets to primetime TV to the avant-garde music scene in Manhattan, her appeal was just boundless.
And the sheer volume of her output reinforces that. Her magazine presence was enormous, with photo layouts and adult titles, but also in huge mainstream magazines like Weekly Playboy, Flash, and Hot Dog Press.
It just paints this picture of a cultural production machine. I mean, a partial filmography lists 30 DVDs and 24 VHS tapes, plus 4 books on Japanese Amazon. This was a sustained multimedia dynasty.
Which leads to the next challenge, right?
Yeah.
Longevity. How do you maintain stardom in an industry that is so relentlessly focused on youth?
And she achieved this by transitioning into a venerated role. She continued to work in the JAV scene, though less frequently, adopting what's known as the Jukujo status.
And this is important context for anyone listening. Jukujo literally means mature lady. It is a specific, established, and even respected market segment in the AV industry for veteran performers.
So it's a transition from the idol category into the experienced woman category.
Exactly, and she fully embraced it, releasing titles like Remembrance of Lewd Tits in 2004. She later worked with the mature woman specialist Studio Madonna on series like Superbust Female Doctor.
She kept this high-profile work going for, well over a decade.
And she was savvy about the changing media landscape, too. She launched an online diary in August 2006. She remained relevant. In April 2007, she got her 7th featured appearance on the Japanese website Tokyo Topless.
11 years after her debut. That level of endurance is just staggering.
It really is.
Her career had such an incredible duration, moving from niche fame to mainstream and back again, but the sources point to one final and I think deeply poignant career pivot in 2013 that kind of connects the whole story.
By 2013, we learned she transitioned to working as a part-time prostitute at a Yoshiwara Soapland called Tiara.
Right, and for context, a Soapland is a licensed establishment, essentially a bathhouse that offers sexual services, operating openly in specific districts in Japan.
And its business model, for her, relied entirely on her fame. The club was overtly promoting her using her established status as a J-Cup former AV star.
So she wasn't just working there, she was selling her history, her celebrity, her whole legacy.
But here's the final stark detail that really ties all these themes together: youth, fame, authenticity.
When they were promoting her celebrity status, the club was also listing her age as 4 years younger than her actual age.
Exactly.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? Miki Sawaguchi's career, it provides this powerful, sometimes uncomfortable window into the nonlinear nature of celebrity and entrepreneurship in the Japanese entertainment world.
Yeah, it clearly shows how the AV world and the mainstream don't exist in separate vacuums. They intersect, they clash, and sometimes they provide wildly different degrees of comfort and creative control.
And her powerful critique of that dark and dirty mainstream media really remains the defining thread of her life story. Her journey is one of incredible reinvention.
From a shy debutante to an AV idol to a TV personality, a New York noise musician, and finally, a respected jugujo selling her own fame.
And that contrast embedded in that final pivot is just so striking. The club selling her services felt the need to highlight her established, celebrated fame, her status as an AV star.
But still felt obligated to knock 4 years off her age.
So what does that final detail suggest about the absolute, unrelenting value placed on youth in the Japanese adult entertainment market, even when it's put right up against established, verifiable fame?
That's something profound for you to mull over as you wrap up this deep dive.